On March 23rd, a verdict by a court in Surat has led to disqualification of Mr. Rahul Gandhi from the parliament. He is now a former member of the parliament, which has raised a lot of legal questions. The Congress party is not only raising questions about the haste in which this judgment has been given, but also the harshness of the conviction and the sentencing. Apart from that, it has also raised some political questions as well. Is it a political opportunity ahead of 2024, or is it once again just an attempt being created, to opposition to come together to once again pitch Rahul Gandhi as the main contender against Narendra Modi in the 2024 election? To speak about the legal and political ramifications of this, I have former Union Minister, senior leader of the Congress party, Member of Parliament, Mr. P. Chidambaram. So thank you so much for taking the time out and speaking to NDTV. I want to start by asking you with what Mr. Piyush Goyal just about an hour back spoke about this issue. And he came out with a list of 12 disqualifications of other MPs, MLAs across the country. And he said, what is so special about this that the Congress party is hitting the street trying to make it as if grave injustice has been done to Mr. Rahul Gandhi. He is not an exception. He is not above law.
No one says that any one of the Congress party is an exception. Let Mr. Piyush Goyal go through that list of 12 cases. I don't know. I'm just guessing, but I think my guess is right. Is any of those 12 cases a case of slander, defamation by speech, or are all the cases of corruption, heinous crimes like murder, rape, kidnapping? Is there any of those 12 cases a case on slander or defamation? That is point one. The second point is, in any of those cases, was the disqualification done in 24 hours? Again, I don't know because I don't have his list. But let him go through that list again and tell me what is the date of conviction and what is the date of disqualification.
So do you think that the haste that has been shown, both because I was going through your Twitter line and your timeline, and you had also listed how this entire case had proceeded, from the judge, in fact, coming back, and in just about a matter of a few weeks, the entire hearing was completed and the sentence was read out. Is that haste in some way being questioned by the Congress party? Is there a motive that the Congress party is attributing to the judgment because of this haste?
One has to assume that the people of India are intelligent. Your viewers are intelligent. We don't have to spell out everything. The point is, this speech in Surat was delivered on 13th of April 2019.
In Kolar, Karnataka.
In Kolar.
Yes.
Cases in Surat.
Yes.
The complaint was filed within 3 days. This is okay. 16th of April. For 3 years, the case did not proceed at a speed it should proceed, like we have in the last 4 weeks. It was meandering because it was not a grave offense of the IPC. It was only slander, not even libel, slander. On the 7th of May 2022, the complainant goes to the Gujarat High Court on some ground. I don't want to characterize that. On some ground says, please stay my trial. His own case, it was stayed. Mr. Rahul Gandhi makes a speech in Parliament, the first leg of the budget session, on 7th of February 2023. Now, what happens after 7th of February 2023 is what makes this case exceptional. 3 days later, complainant goes to the Gujarat High Court and says, 10 days later, please, I'm withdrawing my revision, let the case proceed. The case comes back to the magistrate. In the meanwhile, the earlier magistrate has been transferred. A new magistrate comes. He starts the hearing on February 27, hears it for a few days, I think, reserves judgment, delivers it on March 23, and the disqualification on March 24. Now, what happened after February 7 and up to March 24 would astonish even Usain Bolt.
The speed of the entire trial and the judgment and the sentencing, and of course the disqualification then.
There is a third point. I mentioned 2 points of distinction. There's a third point. The very magistrate could have simply granted bail. In a punishment of less than 3 years, bail is normal until the appeal is filed. But what did he do? He stayed his own sentence, which is a matter of discretion. Why did he exercise discretion and stayed his own sentence? He didn't stay the conviction, but he stayed the sentence. So today, there is a conviction but no sentence. There's a conviction but no sentence. This raises a larger legal issue, which my distinguished friend Dr. Singhvi and his team will examine. But the point is, there is no sentence today. The sentence has been suspended by the very magistrate who pronounced the sentence. And why are you rushing to disqualify him in 24 hours?
Okay, but Mr. Chidambaram, the BJP, particularly on this issue and the way, because I've seen some of your party colleagues have also been tweeting this entire timeline, some even going on to suggest that from 2015 till 2022, the magistrate was not given any promotions. Then from between 2022 December and March, he's given 2 promotions. They are saying that, look, the Congress party, it's all right for the Congress party to disagree or not to agree with the sentencing of Mr. Rahul Gandhi or the verdict that the judge has pronounced. But you're attributing motive to the judge. You are raising questions on the behavior of the judge, putting your suspicion on that. They are saying that, look, the Congress party has no faith in any of the systems, be it judiciary or when they lose elections, EC and so on and so forth.
I have not said a word about the judge. Have I? So I have no comment. I am pointing out the 3 exceptional circumstances. First is it's a case of slander, not a heinous crime. The second is what I said, the speed with which the matter moved. And the third is that there is a stay of the sentence. And why doesn't Mr. Piyush Goyal or the government address this question? There is only a conviction today, there is no sentence. The very judge has stayed his sentence. Anyway, let's move on. Those are legal issues.
A few members and few of your colleagues as well, senior colleagues, have also been astonished by possibly the lack of foresight as far as the Congress's legal team is concerned. When it came to Mr. Rahul Gandhi, they are saying that we should have been prepared for all contingencies. Did the Congress not anticipate that something of this nature could have happened? Because they are pointing out, even the opposition, the BJP in that matter is pointing out that, look, when with Mr. Pawan Khera, recent example, when he was deboarded, taken off the tarmac, was taken into custody, within an hour the Congress was able to get him protection from the Supreme Court. What took the Congress so long for Mr. Rahul Gandhi?
It's an absurd argument. The comparison is absurd. Mr. Khera was sought to be detained and deprived of his liberty, so we rushed to the Supreme Court, which can hear it under Article 32. In the case of a pronouncement of a judgment, punishment by a magistrate, the only court to which an appeal can be filed is the district court. You cannot go to the Supreme Court. You think if there was a legal way to go to the Supreme Court, our lawyers are so dim that they won't rush to the Supreme Court? The only way, only forum was the district court. 23rd, the judgment is pronounced in Gujarati. Correct. It's a 170-page judgment. The lawyers are in Delhi and in Gujarat. It has to be translated into English so that the lawyers in Delhi can offer their inputs. Let's assume all this was done on the 23rd. the first day you can file an appeal is only 24, which is a Friday. But before the court commenced proceedings on 24th, the district court, you have disqualified him here. You are presenting a fait accompli. So what is the point of filing an appeal, haste post haste?
Okay.
When the government has moved, or the parliamentary secretariat has moved with even greater haste post haste, they have presented a fait accompli. So we will file an appeal, appeal will come up in the district court, but the district court may or may not stay the conviction. We are going to argue for stay of the conviction, may or may not stay the conviction, but you have presented a fait accompli. So even if we have gone to the district court on Thursday, what would have happened? You have disqualified him anyway. Look at the Lakshadweep case.
Yes.
High Court granted a stay of the conviction, yet the Parliament has not allowed him to go back to the Lok Sabha for 2 months. He has made a request enclosing the judgment saying, I should be allowed to join the Lok Sabha proceedings. There is no order so far. Why does it take 2 months to decide the Lakshadweep case, and why does it take less than 24 hours to decide Mr. Rahul Gandhi's case?
On this very point, Mr. Chidambaram, today I was reading a piece which was written by Mr. P.D.T. Achari.
Correct.
And he pointed out that even with the new law, I mean, it doesn't say who can
Correct.
immediately go ahead and disqualify a member. He in fact argued that it should have been the president. It should have gone to the president, in fact, before disqualification was announced. Is that a grey area, or do you, in a way which possibly Mr. Rahul Gandhi case has been exploited, or do you think that by law it has been settled?
No, it has not been settled. I mentioned this yesterday to one of the channels. You see, all that the section says is, section 8, subsection 3 and article 102, sub-article 2 or 3, all that it says is, if a person is convicted and sentenced, he shall be disqualified. Here, there is a legal issue. The sentence has been suspended, but let us assume there is convicted and sentenced. He shall be disqualified. It does not say he stands disqualified. He shall be disqualified. So it's an act that has to be done by somebody. Who is that somebody? Is it the Election Commission? Is it the President of India? Is it the Speaker of the Lok Sabha? Is it the Secretariat of the Lok Sabha? Now here, I'm pretty sure the Election Commission had no role to play. The President of India obviously did not sign any order. We don't know whether this Honorable Speaker signed an order. It's only for him to clarify. The notification is in the name of the Lok Sabha Secretariat. Now, this is a big legal issue. Who can disqualify? A Secretariat can disqualify? Why is there such thundering silence about who passed the order of disqualification?
But sir, hasn't this been, the law has been there for some time. Why was it not challenged, or these questions being raised only when it came to Mr. Rahul Gandhi? Now there has been possibly a debate on what's going on.
Please, the person who should raise it is the person who has been punished and disqualified. Now, I don't know if any of those 12 cases concerned a Congress functionary. I can't answer that question. When it comes to a Congress functionary, the Congress legal team is looking into it. But if it involved some other party's functionary, there was no occasion for us to look into it. But Mr. P.D. Acharya is absolutely right. He has not reached a conclusion. He has only raised a question.
Yes.
This question can only be answered by the High Court and the Supreme Court.
Right. Meanwhile, so that's the legal part of this entire argument and how it has been playing out. The BJP says that since it's not that the BJP has done anything apart from few BJP functionaries going and complaining as far as the court is concerned, rest is, as per them, the legal course which has taken its entire meaning. Now, Why is it being made into a political issue? The Congress party says that, I was listening to Mrs. Priyanka Gandhi yesterday, and she said so many things have been said about her family, herself, and Mr. Rahul Gandhi. Well, then the Congress, as per the BJP, should have gone and filed the defamation case as well.
No, these are not defamatory statements. This is what we call robust political discourse, robust political language. If you listen to the Prime Minister's question hour every Wednesday in the House of Commons, where the Leader of the Opposition and the Prime Minister joust with each other, look at the robust political language they're using. I've witnessed the Australian equivalent of the House of Commons. It's very colourful, robust language. So you don't rush to accuse somebody of slander or libel. Libel is a different matter, writing. This is a political speech. He made a political speech. There was a question. He answered it in a rhetorical manner. Now, whether that amounts to defamation, I have a view, but I can't say it because it's an appeal now.
Right.
We will come to that. But tell me, I don't know, I may not know, I may be ignorant. Tell me one case where for slander, there is verbal defamation, anyone has suffered the maximum punishment of 2 years.
We were trying to get this research, and we could only find one case. I've not been able to find the name of that person, and it's in, I think, 150 years. This is the second case in which 2 years punishment has been given. But the fact remains, sir, this has been in our law books.
Yes, but then
the whole chilling effect that, yeah.
Punishment and finding a person guilty and punishing him and sentencing are two separate aspects of criminal jurisprudence. That's why there is always a time gap between finding a person guilty and the sentencing. Here, it was over in 10 minutes. Sentencing is a separate chapter in criminal jurisprudence. You will have to weigh a number of factors before you pronounce the sentence.
Right.
That is why the law separates judgment and sentencing. Here is all over in 10 minutes. What was taken into account? Precedents, similar cases, the enormity of the expression, the possible rival interpretations. Nothing seems to have been taken into account. We will argue all this.
That in the court. But do you think the Congress, when you were in power, you also missed an opportunity? Because a lot of leaders, when BJP was in opposition, I mean, this was a common expression that criminal defamation is being used for some sort of a chilling effect, to try and get the voices of, or caution people, don't step over this line.
Not caution you, I'm putting it mildly. It is to this entire case to silence a leading voice of the opposition of India.
But did the Congress miss an opportunity to try and rectify this?
That is not in our DNA. Na? I was Home Minister for 3.5 years. Not once has a case been brought to me, or have I instigated somebody to file a case, or encouraged somebody to file a case leading to a punishment of 2 years for slander. I mean, this is unheard of. I'll tell you something. A high constitutional functionary, retired now, told me yesterday that in all his 40, 50 years of public life, he has never come across a case where for slander, a 2 years maximum punishment has been imposed.
Why do you think the Supreme Court did not do away with criminal defamation when this was challenged in the Supreme Court? And Mr. Rahul Gandhi was also one of the people, those who had in fact taken it to the Supreme Court.
I don't know if Mr. Gandhi was there. There was some other people who had petitioned the Supreme Court. But you see, law evolves. For example, until 10, 15 years ago, Section 377, homosexuality was a crime. It's been decriminalized now. Therefore, law evolves. Same-sex marriage was unheard of. But today the Supreme Court says we will examine whether we should acknowledge and recognize same-sex marriage. So law evolves. We want the sedition law to be taken off the statute book. We want defamation to be decriminalized. But the law will evolve. But the law is evolving does not give you an opportunity to use the law to silence a democratic voice. Let me tell you something. This will not be the first case. They will use this case to silence every voice of the opposition, one by one. And then, after the political voices have been silenced, they will come back to you and silence the media's voice. Let me also make a dire prediction. It took us over 200 years to win freedom from the British. Countries which got freedom along with India in the 1947 to 1950, many of those countries have slipped back into authoritarian rule. They have not got their freedom again. The people of that country have not got their freedom again, although it is supposedly a country free of colonial rule.
Right.
If we lose our freedom once again by silencing all democratic voices and we become an autocratic state, we cannot win the freedom for another 100 years.
So, but the argument of the BJP is that Congress raises this flag of democracy under threat. People are choosing, or BJP is winning most elections. In the last from Narendra Modi from 2014 to now, in terms of comparison, they have won more elections than the Congress party has.
Undeniable.
So they say that people don't see the view of the Congress party of democracy under threat.
Let us see. Democracy, the threat to democracy doesn't happen in one day. The threat to democracy builds up over a period of time, and then it reaches what we call a tipping point. Whether the tipping point has been reached or not, I cannot say. If it reaches the tipping point, I'm sure the people will assert themselves.
How do you see the impact politically of what has happened with Mr. Rahul Gandhi? A lot of opposition leaders who did not see eye to eye with the Congress party, and I will give example of Mr. Arvind Kejriwal, even Mamata Banerjee, they extended support as far as this case is concerned. Is it a realization of the opposition that this is also something that can happen with them, or a battle of existence?
I'm glad they have realized the danger. They may have not realized the extent of the danger, but now they realize that you can always set in motion a law. This was an obscure law. I mean, whoever heard of 2 years punishment for slander? You can always set in motion a law, this law or any other law, and silence the voice of a leading member of the opposition. That can happen tomorrow, to them, to their party, to their leadership. And I think I'm glad they've realized it. What I want to know is, has the media realized it? Has the media's leading voices realized it? Has the media's owners realized it? And then have other institutional heads realized it?
Okay.
This is a grave danger. Please don't minimize the danger. You take an obscure law which says 2 years punishment, you set it in motion, and then fast track it in the 30 days and disqualify an elected MP.
My last two questions to you, sir, purely on politics ahead of 2024. Like we were talking about the opposition unity, do you think that this could pivot in some sort of a understanding between the opposition parties? And how do you see this playing out politically? Because even if, let's assume that this is a political movement or an opportunity which has been given to the Congress party and Mr. Rahul Gandhi to possibly go to the people and make an appeal to them, like you are saying, of the dangers of what is happening with this kind of institutions and laws being used. How would the Congress move forward as far as politically is concerned? Can the Congress make it a political movement?
Well, I don't know what Mr. Gandhi's plans are, but what I've heard from the General Secretaries is they intend to take this movement or protest movement, communication to the states and districts. We are strong in some states. We are not so strong in other states. So we will have to work with the other parties, especially the state-centric parties, which are pretty strong in each state. There is TMC, there is RJD, there is DMK. So we'll have to work with those states. Now, how it will play out over the next 1 year, I can't say. But my fervent desire is it should play out in a manner that the opposition gets together and there is a strong opposition candidate against every BJP candidate. Now, whether that will happen or not, it's too early to say, and it's certainly beyond my competence to say at the moment. But if we are able to field one opposition candidate against every BJP candidate, I think the election will be a far more severely contested election.
There is one just last thing. In fact, it was raised in the press conference when Mr. Rahul Gandhi was also speaking. A parallel was drawn to what happened when Mrs. Gandhi was disqualified, and then the way she fought it politically, went to the people, was on the ground for a very, very long time, toured many parts of the country, and then she came back politically stronger than what she was. Is that an example, or at least a textbook case that the Congress can emulate right now?
I was a witness to Mrs. Gandhi touring India after her disqualification and expulsion from Parliament. She won in Chikmagalur, and then she was disqualified within 10 days or so. I was a witness when she came to Chennai, to Madurai. I was a witness. That's a playbook that can be copied or adapted. Now, what Mr. Gandhi will do, I can't say. But I think the party and all its leaders must go to the people, and while emphasizing issues like unemployment, price rise, the neglect of the poor, how post-COVID the economy is not revived, the rather sedate pace at which the economy is growing rather than the clipping pace of 7 or 8. Apart from those issues, we also have a duty to tell the people that democracy is in danger.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chidambaram, for speaking to us, sparing the time, and trying. It will be better for our viewers because that understanding legally how the Congress party takes it legally is one aspect, but politically also it is going to be very, very important ahead of the 2024 elections. Thank you, Mr. Chidambaram, for sharing your views.
Thank you.